Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome in. This is a bit of a different kind of scenario than we're used to. Hi. um, Welcome to the first live episode of Brace for Impact. It's a bit of a different view today. Affinity, of course, is still on her month-long break. She's been chilling out. She's in the chat actually saying hi. You're staying up late as usual. It's midnight over in the UK, but bless her, she is still here. This is a bit of a different episode. It's a bit of a different everything. Usually the episodes are done on the Monday at 6 p.m. my time, and then I spend that night between casting and everything else, getting them ready, getting them prepped to go up onto YouTube and to go up onto Spotify. We've done something different tonight. We're doing it live. We're doing it here. I can see chat. I can respond to chat. I'm gonna do my very best to do that because I know hopefully people have questions. That's my hope. Even if you don't have, even if you don't stay the whole time, as long as you have questions for the first little bit here, I would be more than happy to answer them because that is exactly what we are going to be doing tonight is a little bit of answering questions if people have them. It's going to be a lot of me talking about the news, talking about other stuff that's happening, and of course recapping the first 2 weeks of ESL Impact Season 6 because it has been a little bit since we did the last episode. We came in last episode, it was the primer. I did it alone. We went through. I thought it was going to take me like 45 minutes. We went through the whole hour. We did everything possible. Now we only have a little bit of results to go on. There's a little bit of a break as ESL Impact kind of settles in and everybody focuses on that. We're going to have a lot more coming up in the future here, though, because, of course, there's tournaments abounding. There's a lot of stuff to cover, as always. Anyways, we are going to go right into the news here. And, of course, with the news, it's very light. It's relatively light in the last 2 weeks because, of course, the season has officially started. So pretty much every team that hasn't had a way to get something going here at this point has found something or other on roster fills, on everything else like that. So, for example, Letter Cook, Aviri has joined the team. She's a Kazakhstani player. She joins the five, of course, after who left? Oh, I think it was Astra, not Astra. Oh, it's in the notes. I'm gonna check last episode's notes because it's in there. Rachel. It was Rachel. Rachel left, and that left the opening there for Aviri. We'll get to the results in a little bit here, of course. The podcast. Hi, Will. Hi, everybody. So Letter Cook, for example, they have a new player in on there. I mentioned earlier actually that Miley had joined Crescent. I don't remember who she joined in place of. I actually could check now. So it's Mio, Amor, Aikinora, Unknown, Miley, and that replaces Dreamcatchers. That replaces that's not the same roster. Margot, it looks like, is the player that's been replaced. So there's that. Other roster announcements in EU. The Blue Jays team that had a women's team for a little bit there. They've unfortunately parted ways with the roster. I believe, it's a combination of the team didn't make it into ESL Impact, and probably they're just trying to figure out what they really want to be looking for, what they're really going for as a roster. So the roster itself is sticking together, but that's as it stands. Blue Jays as an org does not have a women's team associated with it. That's everything I saw in EU. I didn't find anything in South America. So if I'm wrong on that one, I have no idea. I tried to keep up with it. I know Benny occasionally sends me stuff that's happening down there as well. It's not always 100% though. So we might have missed some things down there. As I can find it, they haven't had much in the terms of roster upheaval. There's been nothing massive down there. There has been a lot in North America though. There's two bigger announcements. One is for an actual team. Fluffy Aimers has picked up a roster. Of course, you have to remember, go back all the way probably season 2, just before season 2. There was an Impact roster they had. It was Fluffy Aimers Purple, I want to say. This time they've come back. A few of the players I can remember actually were on that roster. I believe Scraft was one that played for them, played on that team for a while. Maybe Bezdaria as well. Fluffy Aimers Purple. Fluffy Aimers, of course, that roster dissolved. Fluffy Aimers backed away from the scene, kind of went and did their own thing for a little bit. They had their own ECL roster, everything kind of like that. And then, most recently, we see Lumen step into the picture. They qualified. They've played really well recently as well, and we'll get to that. But then that led to Fluffy Aimers coming back and picking up the team, and now Lumen is Fluffy Mafia. So that's pretty cool to see on that side. So that's a pretty cool thing there. Announcement, we're getting there. Do not worry, we are gonna get to the announcement. The the final little bit of NA news then that comes through is Tippy is unfortunately stepping away from the Unjustified FE roster. So they just, of course, got picked up. You have to remember, this is the roster that was one of Goons Bandits. They played under that banner for quite a while, probably coming up to a year. Fly there. And so they recently were dropped from their side, became the Gnomes. They tried to qualify, nearly did. Unfortunately, weren't able to make it into the season. As a result, they were kind of still looking to figure out where to go. This left them in a bit of a, hey, what are we going to do? Because they are still in intermediate. As a 5, they still are doing pretty good things. Unfortunately, Tippy is no longer able to continue with them. I didn't really get, there's not really an official thing, just, hey, you know, I've got other stuff I'm doing. Yeah, so she's moving on, doing other things. So the Unjustified roster are in fact looking for one. I know Vulcan has put out an announcement on the official Unjustified on the official Unjustified Twitter. I retweeted it. It's just basically, hey, are you interested? Here's kind of what we're looking for. Go give it a check if you're currently looking for team. And yeah, Vulcan. It's the coach of the team. Vulcan, not you. Yeah, the coach's name is Vulcan. She's actually been a quite prolific. By the way, if you don't know who Vulcan is, she's been quite a prolific coach / analyst throughout the years of Counter-Strike. I've known her. I've known of her for quite a while. She's done a lot of cool stuff. I believe she's done stuff for FaZe, for Cloud9. I could be wrong, but she's always kind of been in the mix as a North American coach or analyst that does some really cool stuff. And so it's been it's a crazy get for them to have her as a coach, which is really cool to see. And especially because, I mean, I don't think she's always been kind of a secondary person in terms of stuff on team. She's never really been the lead role for anything like that. The final bit of news then that comes in. Actually, no, sorry. There is one other thing aside from my thing. I lost the tweet. It was announced the other day. September 2nd. It was announced through the HLTV standings. In fact, they were doing their updates. They're going through, hey, here's our CS2 standings. Here's kind of where we're looking as for teams that are rated. There was a few that joined. Just quite a few. Few teams to join the rankings, namely ones Lumen and Aware, of course, Fluffy Mafia. They're joining the HLTV ratings for the first time as a result of being a qualified team. Through ESL Impact. Furia FE rejoined the board. Navi Javelins rejoined the board. Fluxo Demons, Blue Otter Karma rejoin. Letter Cook are back in, and Sanity FE. They all join back in onto the rankings, which is really cool. A couple of teams also left the rankings. But yeah, it's really cool to see with ESL Impact coming back into form. All these teams that have kind of been sitting on the sidelines, or orgs that didn't really have a team, they found a team. They found a league that's followed by HLTV just because of the level of it. And so as a result, these teams are now into the HLTV rankings, which is really cool to see. I mean, personally, I don't have an HLTV profile, and I don't have an HLTV ranked team that I'm a part of. So, if you think about it, every single one of those players and teams are better than most of the population, which is really cool. Okay, and I guess that leaves with the last thing here, the last little bit of news. It is a personal bit of news for me, and it's one that I think I will cherish the most saying, because I have wanted to do something like this for so long, and specifically for this outlet. This outlet specifically has been really cool for a long time. It's gone under a different bit of management recently, but I like the vision that they have. I like everything that they've kind of stood for a long time. Yeah, I mean, if people really like, the content that I've done already in terms of the podcast, in terms of videos I put out in other forums, in terms of doing casts and following that kind of stuff, anything like that, it's going to be a little bit of a continuation, a little bit of a step out into a different comfort zone. I'm actually going to be joining Rushby Media as a journalist. I will be doing writing and other things for Rushby Media. I can confirm I already have an article in the works. And yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I am very excited. I'm very happy to be able to do that. So yeah, it's Parks at RVM now for all those folks out there. So yeah, I'm continuing my journey in terms of, hey, let's add things to what I can do. So yeah. So what's the difference between that and Dust 2? So the difference between that and Dust 2 is Dust 2 is under HLTV. Rushby Media is a volunteer outlet that's outside their scope. So I'm not under any overlords other than Slevo Liam himself, who is now the head of Rushby Media, of course, since Ryan it does all the Dust 2 US stuff. So it's all under Liam Slevo, who's a very nice man. I got to talk to him a few days last week. I got to talk to him last week, and that was where the job was offered. So yeah, keep an eye out on their channels. Keep an eye out on my channel. I'm gonna on my Twitter and all that stuff. And yeah, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of writing. There is an expectation that I will be doing a lot of writing. So keep an eye out. It's gonna be a few articles a month kind of thing. But yeah, that's gonna be the fun bit right there. Is I'm gonna be joining as a writer, and that's gonna be a whole different experience. And of course, with writing also comes potentially doing interviews and a whole bunch of other things like that. So yeah, I appreciate all the warm welcome. Also, I haven't shouted out anybody really recently here. Shout out to Floofies and Apples and Snicky all joining in on the chat. Will was in here a little bit earlier saying hi. Appreciate you all for stopping in, and I appreciate all the thank yous so much. I love everything. It's gonna be great. So I'm excited. I for a long time have wanted to do a lot of writing, and it's been one of those things that just I've never been consistent with it. I've always never finished projects, and now I'm getting that little bit extra incentive to just get them done. Yeah. To get on a plane, so I'll watch the VOD. The good news is this will also go out onto the YouTube channel as well later. Thank you, Gadfly. Appreciate it. Okay. With that all aside, then, I need Wikipedia. Will, you already have a Wikipedia page in my heart. How about that? Okay, guys, that is going to be the end of the news. That's all the news that I have for you. We're cruising along here. We're actually going to be moving into results-based stuff. Of course, it's the first 2 weeks of ESL Impact now, already on their way. And as a result, we've got a little bit of ground to cover. We're going to start in with Group A in EU. We of course are going to take the big grouping here. That's the big group of death. Of course, EU 2 groups of 6, lots to cover. I guess in 4 matches, yeah, lots to cover. The first one is a bit of a rematch. Permita versus HSG. HSG, of course, coming in, trying to impress as that constant the constant team to qualify in through the wild card spot. They have a point to prove, and they're going to do their best to prove it. While they start off really well, they get the 2-0 over Permita. It's a 13-8, 19-15 on Anubis, which I believe would have been Permita's map pick if it's going to be like that. No, it was HSG's pick. So Permita bringing the hot stuff on Anubis, but that leaves HSG on top of the board at 1-0. The other match to happen in week 1 in Group A was Big Akipa going up against Crescent, and this is the interesting one, more so for Big than it is for Crescent, because Crescent coming in, they have no weight on them. They are just kind of chilling. They're doing whatever. For Big Akipa, this is a big thing for them because they just brought in Letty. They've been constantly tinkering with that roster. They qualified for the Season 5 finals. This is a big thing for them to continue that form and continue to impress in that way. They do well. They get the 2-0. It's a little bit closer than they probably would have liked, though, on the second map. It's a 13-6 on Nuke. They take that one comfortably. They get to Mirage, 16-14. So they had to go into overtime as well. That might be a bit of a recurring theme. So that's week 1. Big and HSG both go 1-0. Dreamcatchers and Crescent go 0-1. Second week in, Imperial making their debut, going up against Dreamcatchers. And if you had to sit there and watch the entire match, I would have felt pretty bad for you on the first map. It was a 22-19 on Mirage for Imperial. They take it, but it just goes and goes and goes and goes, which is a very good sign for Dreamcatchers. Unfortunately, they weren't able to replicate it on map number 2. 13-5 Inferno going the way of Imperial. They continue their 2-0 hot streak, and the number of teams that have taken a map off of Imperial, who was Nigma, who was Pigeons, it continues to be a very small number. Which is as they like it. They want it to be like that. The last match to happen then in week 2 on Group A was Permita versus Crescent. So Permita and Crescent both getting their second match in as many weeks. And this one didn't seem at all that close, which is interesting because of how Big Equipa were against Crescent. It felt a lot closer on one of those maps. It wasn't at all. Permita cruising a 13-6, 13-4, 2-0 win over top of Crescent. So Crescent now sit at the bottom of the table, 0-2. Permita sit 1-1. There's next 2 weeks of matches, pretty good matches coming up. I think the one I'm looking out for the most is going to be Imperial versus HSG. And the reason I say that is because HSG, as we know, have played up against Imperial in the group stages as well. And it's been pretty close matches when they go up against each other. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how they sit. Of course, HSG, a bit of a modified roster. You have to remember Hazel is now sticking with them for the next little bit. Anna is going to be around as well. She's joining, of course, from that Guild Esports squad. B-Dog, by the way. Nice name there. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup for sure. I think that's my Group A match to watch. Imperial, of course, playing twice. Dreamcatchers playing twice as well. HSG playing twice. There's going to be a lot of teams, and we're going to really see where those rankings start to go. That's Group A. We're going to move over into Group B now. It's a lot of good matches, actually, like started out here. We had NIP going up against ENCE Athena. This one pretty much went the way everybody thought. It was a 2-0 for NIP, 13-5, 13-5. They take the early advantage there. The next matchup is the grudgiest of grudge matches you could have. It is the Na'Vi Javelin squad going up against Lettercook. And you have to remember, in the offseason, Na'Vi actually picked up one of the Lettercook players in Astra. And of course, they also brought in D7, who used to be playing for those those ex-Guild esports squad as well. So the Guild players were very good. They showed it. They nearly qualified, but you can see a lot of them actually have found good landing spots in the interim. In the meantime, Na'Vi Javelins... Na'Vi Javelins in the meantime, going up against them. It's a 2-0 for Na'Vi Javelins. It's 19-15 on Inferno. That closer result could not be replicated again. It was a 13-5 on Ancient. So Lettercook finally being dismantled by Na'Vi Javelins, who you have to remember, Lettercook early on in Season 5, they were the bane of Na'Vi Javelins. They were the ones that forced them to lose in the group. It's a crazy thing to say. Also, shout out B-Dog CSGO2 for redeeming first in the chat. Pretty cool. Technically, it was a forfeit on second map. I see a 13-5 Vulcan, unfortunately. I don't know if this was the... Against NIP? No, this isn't against NIP, though. Which one are we talking about? Are we delayed a little bit here? I don't think we're talking about the same series yet. Okay, we're getting there though. I know which one you're I think I know which one you're talking about. So anyways, week 2 matches coming up. We had Spirit going up against Astralis. This one was a bit closer, and you have to remember these are 2 squads that are actually middle of the pack. This match matters into who kind of goes where later on in the season, who's fighting for that playoff spot to potentially go to Stockholm. So Spirit going up against Astralis as well. With the reworked roster, you have to remember they took the majority of that Guild Esports roster, what was left of it, and they formed it around some players that were remaining on their squad. That's how they retained the spot, because Astralis at the end of Season 5 actually bombed out of the season. They did not have a very competitive season. Yeah. So... coming into this one, it was Astralis to start off hot. They won 13-7 on Anubis. They then crumbled to the opposition. Spirit really woke up. 13-4, 13-5, taking the 2-1. And this is the first 2-1 we've covered. The first 2-1 of EU season. They get that W, so Spirit improving to 1-0. We then had a nice matchup here, not a grudge match, but more of a competitive rivalry into who will be looking towards the top of the group here in NIP and Navi Javelins. And as far as I can recall, I don't think NIP and Navi have shared a group together in a while. Generally speaking, it's been kind of the NIP, ENCE, and Big grouping, and usually they're with Pigeons or Imperial FE. So this one was going to be an interesting one. Of course, you had Vilga kind of coming in here as well, really taking care of business. It was a 13-4, Navi Javelins taking first map. NIP would fight back quite well, 13-10 on map number 2. That left it into map number 3, and it was currently... it was 10-7 for NIP before, unfortunately, due to technical issues with their internet, Navi Javelins had to bow out. They gave the forfeit over to NIP. So NIP take the 2-1. We'll never know what the scoreline was actually going to be. It probably would have been a relatively close one. Both these teams play Anubis quite well. So sucks to see, and it is what it is at the end of the day. But yeah, so that improves NIP to a 2-0. Puts Navi at a 1-1, and I think this is the first time in quite a while they actually lost a group match. Although I say that, they lost to Lettercook last season, so that's kind of where that sits. So then next up on the board, there's 2 weeks worth of matches, and I'm gonna throw out a bit of an interesting one here. ENCE Athena going up against Astralis as my match to watch, and the reason this is my match to watch, it's gonna be a bit of an underrated one, I think. The reason it's my match to watch is because these are two teams that are expected to be bottom of the table. They're going to be that 4th, 5th squad. Lettercook going up against Spirit is another good one to watch. So week 3 has really good matches, but I'm going to put it to Astralis versus Athena because depending on how that goes, that basically decides kind of how the rest of their seasons are going to look. It's going to be tough matches from there on out. These groups are not nice for anybody. It's one of those things. So yeah, that is where EU sits. Lots of matches coming up, lots of cool stuff coming on down the pipe, and that's where we're going to move on to South America. And the reason we're moving on to South America is because pretty good matches on that side there. Lots of 2-0s, not many 2-1s, but one of the matches that we get to see kind of coming up is an interesting one in terms of the top 4. That's kind of where we sit with the watch in South America. It's the what is the top 4 kind of coming in here because they did get those 2 slots. Kind of can see where it's going to go, but we'll leave that for a little bit here as we go into the results. It's Fluxo Demons going up against Insanity FE at the start, 13-10, 13-5. They cruise through that one, no issue. Insanity is one of those teams that's kind of on the bubble looking in, not really sure if they're going to make it or not. We'll have to see where they go. Fury at the same time, also a bit of a fun one for them. They go up against the Killers. 13-4, 13-7. They take that one quite well. So those are going to be probably your top 2 teams throughout the group. We'll see how they go. In the meantime, MIBR going up against Peak Academy FE, 13-7, 13-7. Again, those top 4 rosters. We're going down the list. Week 1 is the top 4 rosters versus the bottom 4 rosters. What can we get to see? And then, of course, the last one, Atrix going up against Capivaras, 2-0 for them, 13-4, 13-1. Atrix looking the strongest in terms of their matchup going out of week 1. So pretty good stuff there. Week 2, much of the same. A little bit of a trick up. Most of the top 4 facing off against the lower 4. A bit of a change up coming in, though. Fluxo going up against the Killers, a 2-0, 13-10, 13-5. Again, quite similar to how their match was in week 1. They played Ancient and Nuke and Anubis. So week 1 and week 2, Fluxo had the exact same map pool going up against the Killers as they did going up against Insanity FE, and almost identical score lines coming through both. So, Nuke and Ancient are going to be the maps to watch for Fluxo Demons because that seems to be all they want to play when it's a 2-0 scenario. Furia coming in, going up against Capivaras, 13-2, 13-2. Capivaras, unfortunately, getting the short end of the stick. It looks like they're going to have a fun season, I think, is the best way to put it. They're not going to be having too much of a challenging season. It's just kind of, okay, let's just have fun. Let's get some reps. Let's do some stuff together. Excuse me, chat. Gotta get a cold cough candy. Cold candy, yeah. It's great when your regular 7 to 4 job is talking, and then you gotta come home and talk some more. All right, that leaves 2 matches left for week number 2. It's Insanity FE going up against Peak Academy FE. This is more of a one to see kind of where the bottom 4 sit in terms of a ranking. Insanity FE took it to Peak, though, 13-11, 13-6. So they take the cake on that one. They improve to 1-1. The last matchup of week 2 is the most interesting one to happen in the first 2 weeks. It is MIBR versus Atrix. This is the one that really starts to kick off. Okay, who's our 1, 2, 3? Who's our, where are we sitting on the bubble? And MIBR, to be fair to them, they have been struggling with recent results, and this is this is a continuation of that. It's a 2-1 in favor of Atrix, 13-8 on Mirage. They lose, then MIBR come back 13-10 on Ancient. Dust 2 goes the way of Atrix, 13-9. So Atrix maintain the 2-0, maintain the spot potentially in the race for a potential spot in Stockholm, because of course there's 2. And they beat MIBR and kind of lock in that, okay, we're going to probably be ahead of these guys. So then that leaves the next 2 weeks worth of matches coming up. And I think the most interesting one that's going to come through down the way here, there's a few that are really good. It's actually going to be a lot of top 4 battles coming in here. Fluxo going up against MIBR, Furia going up against Atrix, and then Fluxo going up against Atrix as well. Atrix are going through the gauntlet right now. This is going to decide kind of where they sit through the rest of the season. I'm gonna put the Fluxo versus Atrix game as my game to watch. It seems like Furia, in terms of domestic competition, always perform very well, and there's a bit of a struggle point against Fluxo at points. Like they do lose to Fluxo quite often, but it's a 50-50 in that kind of a fight. For me, Fluxo, they tend to play their games a lot closer a lot of the time, especially in domestic competition. That's not to say they're not going to be world beaters. I mean, they are one of the teams that have beaten Atrix out there. But yeah, I'm going to say the Fluxo Demon versus Atrix match in week number 4 is my match to watch in South America. So keep an eye out for that one. Yeah, because there's a few weeks left before we get to the MIBR versus Insanity. That's week 7. Also, a quick thing, and I'm gonna talk about this a little later. Fluxo and Furia are the week 7 match. That's pretty cool. We love that. And yeah, shout out to Asinon, who of course played for Black Dragons before joining Atrix. She's a really cool player as well. That leaves us then with North America to talk about. So we'll get over to them. 2 weeks worth of matches. Of course, 2 new orgs joining in Blue Otter Karma and Fluffy Mafia. Really cool to see as well. And yeah, it's a really interesting scoreline to see, kind of going across everything. First 2 weeks of matches, pretty good stuff. We've seen a lot of differing results, and I'm gonna quickly shout out Nexus.com. I think it's NexusCS2.com. Let me make sure. NexusCS2.com. Hey JTR, how you doing? Yeah, quick shout out to Nexus. If you don't know what Nexus CS2 is, our very wonderful Bezdaria from North America, she's made this site, nexuscs2.com. I'll put it in the chat there if you want to take a look. It's mostly a place to look. Yeah, it's mostly the place to look for pick'ems, for LFO teams, players looking for org. Looking for team, that kind of stuff. It's trying to become the hub to do it in North America, because there's been a big gap in that for a very long time. The interesting thing, and I mentioned at the start there, is they also do pick'ems on the week, and there's about 26 people who are a part of this, which is really cool to see, by the way. And it's something that I've enjoyed it. I'm not good at it. I'm like 50-50 on some of these, but it's one of those things kind of coming through that it's always an interesting one at the end of the day. I just did my pick'ems right now. Okay. First 2 week of results then in North America. We start off with Impact going up against Blue Otter Karma. Impact, of course, one of the newer rosters on the block. They look pretty good. 16-14, 13-10, beating out Karma. And of course, Karma has been that bona fide 3rd, 4th place team in North America since they've rejoined when they were Team Karma, of course. So that's a big upheaval. That's a big upset for Impact to take that one. That's taking a scalp right off the bat. Nouns then also going up against Aware. It's a 13-8, 13-5. Nouns cruising to a victory there. We then get a bit of a grudge. I would say it's a grudge match, but it's not really a grudge. excuse me, it's not really a grudge match anymore. The roster upheaval has been so huge on the Lotus side that really it's just Fox versus Shimmer at this point. But no, Lotus going up against Shimmer, the old rivalry of Tsunami Sirens and Limitless and all Limitless Angels. So yeah, 2-0 for Shimmer on that one, 13-5, 13-7. They take that one quite comfortably. The last matchup of the week then is FlyQuest Red going up against Lumen. 13-3, 16-14 on Anubis. FlyQuest Red, they play it close to the chest there. Lumen played them well, and that's something to keep an eye on there, because Lumen is a team that's going to be trying to fight for another spot. And of course, it has people in this roster that have been lauded over in terms of, you look at Bezdaria and Piggy who are of course on that Limitless roster before it's breaking up. Scraft is a player has, I think, been very underrated. She played for the old what were they called? They went to Katowice, and I'm going to lose my mind before I think of their name. Saints. Scraft played for the old Saints roster, which had Olya, which had Bunny on it. So lots of really good players coming through on that. So Lumen Fluffy Mafia is a very good team to look out for, I think, in terms of a team that's going to be fighting for to get some results coming through. Week 2, then we come to the matchup, the marquee matchup of, I think, the entire ESL Impact NA thing. Specifically in week 2, this is probably the best matchup to watch. It was Shimmer going up against FlyQuest Red. This matchup, in all honesty, should have been a week 7 matchup. This should have been the last match to decide who goes to Sweden. The reality of it was they put it in week number 2. And not to say it's a foregone conclusion. That's never gonna be the way of this, but there's a limited number of teams that will be able to have a competitive chance against FlyQuest Red. TSM Shimmer was the best of them, and it remains to be seen kind of what the rest of the rosters can do out there, because FlyQuest Red do always sit high and mighty on that throne of NA. So it looks like, as a result of this, FlyQuest Red will be the team to go to Stockholm, but we've yet to see that come through. But yeah, 13-6 on Anubis for FlyQuest, 13-8 on Nuke for Shimmer, 13-4 on Dust 2 for FlyQuest Red. I need to see Shimmer pop off in the land finally. You might have to wait just a little bit longer, unfortunately. Although I think there are plans for them to go to a frag in the future. I know they got a slot in one of them coming up. So I don't know if they can't. It's definitely not going to be the full roster. Phoebe's not able to enter the States right now because of visas. Smile. But yeah, that's kind of where that sits. So yeah, Blue Otter Karma going up against Lotus then is the other big matchup of the night. And yeah, 13-10, 16-14, 13-3. Blue Otter Karma narrowly make it through on that one. I say narrowly. They put up quite a fight on Anubis as well. So Inferno being their kind of end of the line kind of thing for Lotus is pretty good. So they maintain a 1-1. Then they get the 2-1, and that was the big matches of week number 2. The other matches that come through was Aware going up against Impact. Impact take that one all day, 13-1, 13-0. You have to remember, Impact actually had to beat Aware to get into ESL Impact, so this one kind of looked like it was always going to be like that, and Impact have been playing very well, so that's something as well to be aware of. The last matchup was a bit of an interesting one. It was a bit of a change-up as well. Nouns going up against Fluffy Aimers Mafia, and this is the one where it's like, we got a big one here. 13-2, 13-8, Mafia take it over Nouns. That's a big one to jump Mafia into the top 4 spacings. And it's another big one because Nouns are still trying to retain a spot in ESL Impact. It's their second or third time of asking to keep in the top 4 and remain that way. Notable as well, Chowd stood in for Catalyst, so Chowd has been marked now to be on the Nouns roster, at least for the rest of the season. And Mira stood in for Daria. Mira, of course, was one of the players on Limitless Angels as well before their dissolution. She played initially on Lotus, dropped away for other out of world stuff. So yeah, that's kind of where we sit for the rest of this. In terms of matchups upcoming, there's one that's probably going to be the bigger one of all of them, and it is going to be Impact going up against Fluffy Aimers Mafia. That's probably my favorite one to watch coming up And the reason it's my favorite one to watch is just because these are two teams that are fighting for a top 4 spot and are currently in the top 4. So they're looking to try and improve on that. Another matchup that's really good to keep an eye on will be the it'll be the TSM Shimmer, or not, yeah, it'll be the TSM Shimmer versus Blue Otter Karma, because of course that's another one where that decides kind of top 4 on these teams, which will be an interesting one to look forward to. But yeah, as a result, right now, it's actually kind of funny if you go on and look on Liquipedia, just because of the round difference that's come through. Impact is actually above FlyQuest Red in the standings. Impact currently are first in the board, but that's kind of where that sits. Is Phoebe playing on Mega Ping? No. B-Dog, if you... this is the fun part. Phoebe is that on the other side of that wall. Phoebe is in Canada right now. So she's not in North America, or she's not in the United States. And Frag events are held exclusively in the States, which as a result means she can't go there because as an Australian citizen, she can't ping from the across the Canadian border into the States. They won't let her. She would have to fly back, and this is what happened. She'd have to fly back to Australia and then go over into the States. No, I want to see TV. No, she's busy with practice right now. They're grinding. So yeah, she can't enter the United States, which was actually a big reason why she didn't go to Frag Chicago. She was interested in doing that, but yeah. She's at least able to play. No, she's been able to play. Yeah, she's been here for a while. She's been here since July. Yeah, so it's been quite a while. It's weird. It's because it's been long enough of her being here that I kind of forget when she wasn't, because it's just always the assume of like I get home and she's pugging or she's practicing, she's doing something, but like I go say hi, talk to her about stuff, and yeah, it's been very nice to have somebody else in the house that's into competitive esports in terms of Counter-Strike, which has been great. But yeah, that's kind of where everything sits. We're kind of getting towards the end of the episode here. So yeah, what are we watching? You usually say, what are we watching? It's actually just me. What am I watching? There was a good amount of stuff I was watching. It's kind of tapering out now as the end of end of ESEA season 50. I was watching Shimmer's playoff run. Unfortunately, it ended prematurely, so they will be in Maine again next season. There to rig Impact in her favor. Yes, I'm of course going to be Mr. Impact and rig it in her favor. The best I can do is write a script, which always ends up bad anyways. What am I watching? I'm actually following along Nouns' current fight in the lower bracket of Intermediate. They most recently won their match last night, so kudos to the girls over there. Following that with the LCA broadcasting team, Connor has been doing a great job casting the entire season, so ups to him. Other than that, we're watching ESL Impact weeks number 3 and 4. Of course, we're going to have the matches up on the North American specifically matches. We're going to have those up on the channel. That is actually going to be here tomorrow and Thursday night. We got FlyQuest Red going up against Nouns, and we got Connor and Connie on that one, which will be good. And then we've got Impact going up against Fluffy Mafia. So the matchup I wanted to watch, I get to produce and observe. So that's pretty cool. And we have Big D and a mystery, not a mystery guest. I guess a mystery guest. We'll have a mystery guest coming in to join. I will give you some hints. She played for Team Morocco in IESF qualifications. So pretty cool to have her on board for that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm watching, chat. Is there anything you guys are watching in the next week or two that I should be aware of, that I should be kind of keeping an eye on? Because of course, I find out about these competitions from people on Twitter, from people around the community. So yeah, any recommendations on stuff to keep up with, stuff to watch? I know a bunch of people are probably watching ESL Pro League right now. Shout out to M80. Lake is doing wonderful things with his trash talking across the aisle there. It's pretty good stuff. I want to say there's a Trade It Masters coming up. I could be wrong. I want to say it's coming up. I might have missed it already, in which case my fault. Yeah, floor is open, chat. It's a bit of a faster episode. It's a bit of a smaller episode, so that's kind of it. Trade It Masters number 5. Is it upcoming? I probably won't end up watching it. I'm driving this weekend up north to see a friend. Which, by the way, chat, if you didn't know, I got in a car accident about a month ago. And my car was a write-off, but I do have a new car. His name is Henry. So we went from Hank to Henry. Henry's pretty cool. I've enjoyed driving him so far. And it's a new car as well. It's my first new car. Like, it had 66 kilometers when I got it, and that's because it had to drive from one dealership to another because I laid down the law and said I need a car. So, yeah. It's a kilometer. You wouldn't get it. You wouldn't get it. What the cool kids use, but that's just me. All right. Great Masters FE5. Yeah, I found it. Let's see. So Big Akipa, Ensathena, Dreamcatchers, Imperial, Littercook, Navi Javelins, NIP Impact, Spirit FE. 5 Bytes is in here. AAB is there also, which is a Russian core. Censored is in there. Crescent is here. Elite Clan Violet, that Finnish core with Jody and Kimples. HSG are invited. Incilio FE are invited. K10 Ashes were invited. Kitchen Squad, which is a great name. I love that. It's a good joke. Need a Chance, which is another Russian squad. Nike Pro, One Day, Permita are there. Saw are there. Their women's squad, and Sins are joining in. In fact, actually, some matches have already happened. K10 is in trouble right now. Org is wobbly. Uh-oh. That's not good. Yeah, and they've already done some matches, so we'll cover that next episode once they're going past the quarterfinals and everything, because they still have matches to play. So we'll wait on that one. It ends on the 15th. Yeah, there you go. So $4,000 US dollars up for grabs, and hopefully we'll have Affinity back to talk about that one, because I know she's probably been chomping at the bit to keep an eye on that one. Anyways, chat, that is where we're going to end the episode. Thank you guys so much for participating today, for popping in. I hope you enjoyed it. In the next few weeks, I'm going to have an article out on Rushby Media for sure by the time the next episode pops out. We will have Affinity back, hopefully, or we'll have a guest on. I know some people have been talking to me about potentially coming back, and for the longest time, we haven't had an interview kind of come through or another person join us. I definitely want to change that. It's just been a lot of busy stuff in my life that I haven't been able to really organize that kind of stuff. And of course, Benny used to do it when he was on the podcast, so it made things easier for me because I was at work all day. Phoebe, yeah, Phoebe was the last person to be on the cast, but I literally brought her in. So, Chad, if you have not seen Phoebe, if you want to see Phoebe on a podcast episode, go back a few episodes. We had Phoebe join us, literally from my room. We were together talking, which was really, really cool. But yeah, that's where the end of the episode is. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it so much for everybody popping in. Can we see Phoebe right now? No, she's in Prague right now. She's busy. She is busy right now, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would have had her come in and say hi, but no, she is busy. No, so that's going to be the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching. This was episode number 51, chat. We are coming up on 56 soon. That'll be the 56 will be the 2-year anniversary. Yeah, because it's 23 episodes a year. So episode 26, we're gonna hopefully I gotta convince Benny to go through all the episodes and find all the funny bits again, because that's what he did last time. So we'll get a year 2 recap that'll be like half an hour long again. Lots of good content coming out though, chat, and of course do come back here again tomorrow at 7:30 EST, 7:30 p.m. EST, and Thursday 7:30 p.m. EST. Both those days we'll have an ESL Impact match. Yeah, we're gonna keep ourselves busy here. We got 6 more weeks to go. We got 5 more weeks of content to go, and then of course we run into everything in October and November. So thank you very much for watching.